The morning started like any other for Andre. He woke up, made his coffee strong with just a splash of milk, and checked his phone for messages before heading to work. 7 years at Pinnacle Shipping had made his morning routine almost automatic. His lunch was packed the night before, his work clothes pressed and ready. Andre took pride in being prepared, in being professional. He arrived 15 minutes early as usual, greeting the security guard with a smile and a quick chat about the weekend basketball game. The office was quiet this early, just how he liked. In his time to review yesterday's shipping logs before the morning meeting. His desk was neat, organized with family photos and a small plant his daughter had given him 3 years ago. "To brighten your day, Dad," she had said. The plant had survived, thrived even, under his careful attention. When his computer loaded, a message popped up. "Please see HR at 9:30 a.m. Strange, he thought. Andre checked his calendar again. No scheduled review, no note about any issues with his work. His last performance review had been excellent, exceeding expectations in customer service and accuracy. The morning meeting went as usual. His supervisor, Philip, nodded at his logistics report but didn't make eye contact for long. Andre noticed a strange tension in the room, how conversation seemed to stop when he approached the coffee machine. At 9:30 sharp, he knocked on the HR door. "Come in," called a voice he recognized as Beverly from Human Resources. Inside sat Beverly, Philip, and Thomas Wilson, the department head. Their faces were masks of professional indifference. "Have a seat, Andre," said Beverly, sliding a folder across the desk. "What's this about?" Andre asked, remaining standing. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. "We're implementing some company changes," Thomas began, his voice flat. "Unfortunately, your position has been affected." Andre stood still, processing the words. "Are you letting me go?" "We're restructuring the department," Philip said, looking at his notepad instead of at Andre. "Your position has been eliminated." "Eliminated?" "I just trained 2 new hires last month," Andre said, his voice steady despite the shock rippling through him. "We're busier than ever." Beverly pushed the folder closer to him. "This contains your severance information. 2 weeks' pay for each year of service. Your health insurance will continue through the end of the month." Andre finally sat down, feeling like he'd been punched. "What about my performance? I've consistently ranked in the top tier of employees. I've never had a written warning. I've never even been late." Thomas cleared his throat. "This isn't about performance, it's a business decision." But Andre noticed how Thomas glanced at Philip, a quick look that spoke volumes. Something wasn't right. "I'm the only black coordinator in this department," Andre said quietly. "And suddenly my position is eliminated?" The room went silent. Beverly shuffled papers. Philip checked his watch. "That has nothing to do with this decision," Thomas said firmly. "We're cutting costs across the board." "Which other positions have been eliminated?" Andre asked. More silence. "You can take the day to gather your personal belongings," Beverly said, ignoring his question. "We'll need your badge and parking pass before you leave." 40 minutes later, Andre stood in the parking lot, a small box containing 7 years of his work life in his arms, his plant, his family photos, a coffee mug his team had given him after he'd organized a successful charity drive. His phone buzzed with a text from Lena in accounting. "What happened? Everyone's talking. Call me when you can." At home, his apartment felt too quiet, too empty for a Tuesday morning. Andre sat at his kitchen table and laid out the severance papers. The words blurred as he tried to make sense of what had happened. His phone kept buzzing. Colleagues expressing shock, asking questions he couldn't answer. One text caught his eye. From Roger in IT. "This isn't right. Call me tonight, not on company phone." After dinner, when his thoughts had finally settled enough to function, Andre called Roger. "I wanted to talk somewhere they couldn't hear," Roger said, his voice low. "The way they did this wasn't right." "Tell me something I don't know," Andre replied, the bitterness finally creeping into his voice. "No, listen. A month ago, They installed new security cameras throughout the building. For inventory security, they said. Okay, and? Those cameras record audio, man. And the footage backs up to our server for 90 days. I do the maintenance on that system. Andre sat up straighter. What are you saying? I'm saying I've heard things. Meetings in Thomas's office with Philip about you. Andre's heart pounded. Like what? Like how you're not the right fit for client-facing roles despite having the best customer satisfaction scores. Like how they needed to find something to justify letting you go. The room seemed to spin around Andre. Are you serious? They actually said that? Dead serious, Roger confirmed. And there's more, but not over the phone. Can you meet me tomorrow? I saved some clips before they realize what's there. That night, Andre barely slept. The unfairness burned in his chest, mingling with a strange feeling of validation. He hadn't imagined the subtle differences in how he was treated. The way he had to be twice as good, twice as fast, twice as pleasant to get the same recognition. How his ideas needed to be repeated by someone else before they were acknowledged. He thought about the younger workers he had mentored, how he had told them to keep their heads down and do good work. Your results will speak for themselves, he had promised. The bitter taste of that lie kept him staring at the ceiling until dawn. The next morning, Andre called a lawyer his cousin had used for a workplace injury case. The receptionist offered him an appointment the following week. It's an employment discrimination case, Andre explained. I was just fired. There might be evidence. The tone changed. The appointment was moved up to that afternoon. As Andre hung up, he looked at the plant on his windowsill. It needed water, attention. Despite everything, he couldn't neglect it. Just like he couldn't let this injustice stand without a fight. His phone buzzed again. A text from Lena. Heard Philip is already interviewing replacements. All white guys. This is wrong. Andre watered his plant carefully, making sure the soil was evenly damp but not soaked. His daughter had trusted him to keep it alive. Some responsibilities couldn't be abandoned, even when the world seemed to be falling apart. As he set the watering can down, a strange calm settled over him. This wasn't just about a job anymore. This was about dignity, about truth. He would meet Roger. He would see the lawyer. He would not go quietly, because some things were worth fighting for. And the truth, caught on camera and saved to a server, was waiting to be heard. Lena couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. She had worked in the accounting department at Pinnacle Shipping for 5 years, and she knew when numbers didn't add up. This situation with Andre didn't add up. She stared at her computer screen, scrolling through the department budget reports. No signs of financial trouble, no cost-cutting measures in any other department. Just the opposite. They had approved 3 new hires last month. The office felt different without Andre. His deep laugh no longer echoed down the hallway. His thoughtful questions no longer pushed meetings to better solutions. She missed how he remembered everyone's birthday, bringing in small treats to celebrate. When Lena passed Andre's old desk, now emptied of all personal items, she felt a knot in her stomach. Philip had already placed a new team member coming soon sign there, barely a day after Andre's departure. At lunch, she sat with Roger from IT and Carlos from customer service. Both looked as troubled as she felt. Did you talk to him? She asked Roger quietly, making sure no one was within earshot. Roger nodded, picking at his sandwich. Last night. I'm meeting him after work today. Carlos leaned in. What's going on? People are saying different things. Some say he was fired for performance. Others say his position was cut. Both are lies, Lena said firmly. Andre had the best numbers in the department, and they're already interviewing to fill his exact position. Roger looked around carefully before speaking. Remember those new security cameras they installed? The ones that were supposedly for monitoring inventory? Carlos nodded. The ones in the hallways too? I thought that was overkill. They record everything. Video and audio, Roger said, his voice barely above a whisper. And I manage the system backups. Lena's eyes widened as she understood what he was implying. Have you heard something? Enough to know this wasn't a normal business decision, Roger confirmed. I've copied some files, meeting Andre to show him. I want to come too, Lena said. Immediately, Carlos nodded in agreement. Me too. Andre always had our backs. It's time we had his. After work, they met at a small coffee shop 10 blocks from the office. Andre was already there, sitting at a corner table, a legal notepad in front of him. He looked tired but determined. I didn't expect all of you, he said as they sat down, genuine surprise in his voice. We couldn't just stand by, Carlos said, placing a hand briefly on Andre's shoulder. Roger pulled out his laptop. I can't stay long. If they check the access logs and see I've been viewing these files, they might get suspicious. What exactly did you find? Andre asked, leaning forward. Roger plugged in a small drive and lowered his voice. 3 weeks ago, Thomas and Philip had a meeting in Thomas's office. The camera caught everything. He clicked play on a video file. The quality wasn't perfect, but the audio was clear enough. We need someone more appropriate for client meetings, Thomas's voice said. The Westridge account specifically requested a different point person. Andre's numbers are the best, though, Philip replied, sounding hesitant. He's never had a client. Complaint. It's not about complaints, Thomas said sharply. It's about comfort level. Some of our clients are traditional. They want someone they can relate to. Find something in his performance we can use. Check his time logs, his expense reports, anything. Andre's face remained impassive as he listened, but his knuckles turned white as he gripped his pen. Roger stopped the playback. There's more from different meetings. They were building a case for weeks, looking for any excuse. Lena felt sick. That's discrimination, clear as day. The lawyer said the same thing, Andre said. But he also said these cases are hard to prove. Companies usually have paperwork that covers their tracks. Not this time, Roger said, playing another clip. This one showed Philip in his office, on the phone. Yes, I know we're supposed to document performance issues before termination. I'll backdate some notes, and no, he won't contest it. Most people just take the severance and go away quietly, Carlos swore under his breath. They really thought they'd get away with this. They still might, Andre said realistically. Companies have lawyers, resources. This could drag on for years. But the evidence is right there, Lena protested. Roger looked uncomfortable. Technically, I shouldn't have access to these files. They could claim I obtained them illegally. A silence fell over the table as they considered the situation. I have an idea, Carlos said finally. My cousin works at Channel 8 News. They've done workplace exposés before. Andre shook his head. I'm not looking to be on TV. I just want justice and my job back. What about HR? Lena suggested. Beverly might not know what's really going on. Beverly was in one of the meetings, Roger said grimly. She suggested the restructuring language to avoid discrimination claims. Andre took a deep breath. My lawyer wants to approach the CEO directly. Blake Henderson might not know what his managers are doing. Blake is rarely even in this office, Lena pointed out. He runs everything from the headquarters downtown. Which is exactly why Thomas and Philip thought they could get away with this, Carlos added. They talked for another hour, going through options. Roger had to leave first, nervous about having the files outside the secure system. He copied everything to Andre's drive before going. Be careful with these, he warned. They'll deny everything, claim the footage was edited or taken out of context. After Roger left, the 3 remaining friends ordered more coffee. How are you really doing? Lena asked Andre when Carlos stepped away to take a call. Andre looked down at his hands. I keep thinking about my kids. What do I tell them? That no matter how hard you work, some people will only ever see the color of your skin. Lena didn't have an answer for that. The hardest part is the doubt, he continued. Even with this evidence, part of me wondered if I had done something wrong. If I had somehow deserved this. That's what systematic racism does. Makes you doubt your own worth. Carlos returned, his expression excited. My cousin can meet us tomorrow. She wants to hear the whole story. Andre hesitated. I need to talk to my lawyer first. Going public might affect the legal case. Of course, Carlos nodded. But keep it as an option. Sometimes public pressure is the only thing these companies respond to. As they prepared to leave, Lena noticed a man at the next table who seemed to be paying too much attention to their conversation. When he caught her looking, he quickly gathered his things and left. "Did either of you know that guy?" she asked, suddenly uneasy. Both men shook their heads. "Probably nothing," she said, but made a mental note to be more careful about where they met in the future. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Andre, about the casual cruelty of what had been done to him, about how easily it could happen to anyone who was seen as different. She remembered her first week at Pinnacle, how Andre had shown her where everything was, answered her questions without making her feel stupid, how he had stood up for her in meetings when others tried to talk over her. In the morning, she made a decision. She searched through her own emails, finding messages that confirmed the company was financially strong, that no restructuring was planned, evidence that directly contradicted the official reason for Andre's termination. At work, she noticed Philip watching her more closely than usual. When she passed Thomas in the hallway, he barely acknowledged her greeting. They know something, she realized. They suspect we're not just letting this go. At lunch, she texted Carlos and Andre, "Be careful. I think they're watching us." Carlos texted back immediately, "Roger's access to the security system has been revoked. They know." Lena felt a chill. This was bigger than she had realized. The company was circling the wagons, protecting itself. But she had worked with numbers all her life. She knew that when the numbers told a story, no amount of corporate spin could change it. And right now, the evidence was telling a very clear story about what had happened to Andre. That afternoon, when Philip called her into his office to discuss her workload, she knew exactly what was happening. They were looking for ways to silence potential witnesses. As she sat across from him, watching him search for words that wouldn't expose the company's real concerns, Lena made her second decision. Of the day, she would not be silent. She would not look away. Some things were more important than a paycheck. "Is there something specific you wanted to discuss?" she asked Philip calmly, watching him squirm. Justice was coming, and it would not be denied. The morning was gray and drizzly as Andre sat in his lawyer's office. Michael Chen had been practicing employment law for 15 years, and nothing in this case surprised him anymore. "They're claiming the footage was obtained illegally," Michael said, sliding a letter across his desk. "They're threatening to sue Roger for breach of confidentiality and unauthorized access." Andre scanned the legal document, anger building with each paragraph. "They're trying to scare him, to scare all of us." "It's standard procedure," Michael nodded. "Intimidate the witnesses, make the problem go away." "So what do we do?" Andre asked, setting the letter down. Michael leaned back in his chair, fingers pressed together. "We have two paths. We file a discrimination lawsuit which could take years and might end in a settlement with a gag order. Or what? Or we go bigger. Make this about more than just your termination." Andre raised an eyebrow, waiting for more. "I've reviewed all the files Roger provided," Michael continued. "This isn't just about you. There's a pattern. In the last 3 years, every person of color in management or client-facing roles has either been let go or moved to back-office positions." Andre wasn't surprised, but hearing it confirmed still stung. "I should have seen it. I kept my head down, did my work." "That's what they count on," Michael said. "Good people staying quiet, not making waves." Andre's phone buzzed. A text from Lena. "They called me in for a meeting, asked about my connection with you, implied my job could be at risk." He showed the message to Michael, who frowned. "Witness intimidation. They're panicking." Another text came through, this one from Carlos. "Security escorted Roger out. They're saying he violated company policy." Andre felt a knot of guilt. "They're going after everyone who tried to help me." Michael was already typing on his keyboard. "This changes things. They've just given us more ammunition." "But what about my friends? Their jobs?" "There are whistleblower protections," Michael explained. "But we need to move fast. The company is clearly trying to control the narrative. Andre stared out the rain-speckled window, watching people hurry by with umbrellas and raincoats. Normal people with normal jobs, who didn't have to fight just to be treated fairly. I never wanted this fight, he said quietly. I just wanted to do good work and be judged on my merits. Michael's voice was gentle but firm. Sometimes the fight chooses you, and sometimes that means you're exactly the right person for it. Andre nodded slowly. What's our next move? We gather everyone who's willing to speak, not just about your case, but about the pattern, and we take it straight to the top, to Blake Henderson. 3 days later, Andre, Lena, Carlos, and Roger sat around Andre's kitchen table. Roger looked shaken, still processing his sudden termination. They claimed I violated security protocols, he explained, which technically I did, but it was to expose wrongdoing. My meeting with HR yesterday was basically a warning, Lena added. They didn't say it directly, but the message was clear: keep quiet or you're next. Carlos pushed his glasses up. My supervisor suddenly has concerns about my work, after 3 years of excellent reviews. Andre looked at these people, these friends who were risking everything for him, and felt a wave of both gratitude and determination. Michael thinks we should approach the CEO directly, he told them. Blake Henderson might not know what's happening in the local office, or he might be directing it, Roger said darkly. Either way, we need to know, Andre replied. If the problem goes all the way to the top, then our legal case is even stronger. Lena pulled out her laptop. I've been gathering evidence, not just the video files, but numbers too. Look at this. She showed them a spreadsheet tracking promotions, terminations, and lateral moves over the past 5 years. The pattern is clear, she explained. White employees are twice as likely to be promoted. People of color are 3 times more likely to be terminated or moved away from client contact. And look at the salary data, she continued, switching to another tab. Even at the same level with the same experience, there's a consistent gap. Carlos whistled low. This is systematic, deliberate. Andre studied the numbers, feeling a strange mix of vindication and sadness. All this time, I thought if I just worked harder. That's what they want you to think, Lena said firmly, that the problem is you, not them. Roger, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. There's something else you should see. He connected his phone to Lena's laptop and pulled up a video file. I didn't share this earlier because I wasn't sure how relevant it was. It's from 2 months ago. The video showed Thomas in his office with someone they didn't recognize, an older man in an expensive suit. The regional VP, Roger explained. He visits once a quarter. The audio was slightly muffled, but still clear enough. The Westridge account is our priority right now, the VP was saying. They're old school, very traditional. They've hinted they prefer working with people who share their background. You mean white people, Thomas said bluntly. The VP frowned. I'm saying, we need to be strategic about who represents us. Image matters in this business. Andre's our best coordinator for that account, Thomas replied. The clients actually like him. It's not about performance, the VP insisted. It's about comfort. Some clients just feel more at ease with people who look like them. It's human. Nature. So what are you asking me to do? Thomas questioned. I'm not asking anything specific, the VP said carefully. I'm just saying that as we restructure, we should consider which employees best represent our company's image. The video ended, leaving a heavy silence in the room. So Thomas was following orders, Carlos said finally. Andre shook his head. That doesn't excuse it. He had a choice. But it means this goes higher than we thought, Lena pointed out. Roger nodded grimly. All the way to regional management, at least. Andre stood up and paced the small kitchen. We still need to talk to Blake Henderson. He's the only one with the power to really change things. And if he's part of the problem? Lena asked. Then we go public, Andre said firmly. All the way public. The next day, Andre and Michael carefully crafted an email to Blake Henderson's office requesting an urgent meeting regarding discriminatory practices at the local branch. They attached just enough evidence to show they weren't bluffing, but held back the most damning footage. To their surprise, a response came within hours. Henderson's assistant requested a video conference for the following morning. That was fast, Andre said, forwarding the response to Michael. Too fast, Michael replied. Either he's genuinely concerned, or they're scrambling to control the situation. The video call was set for 10 a.m. Andre dressed carefully in a shirt and tie, sitting at his dining table with his laptop open. Michael joined from his office, legal pad ready. At exactly 10 the call connected. Blake Henderson appeared on screen, along with a woman Andre didn't recognize. This is Patricia Winters, our chief legal counsel, Henderson explained. His face was neutral, professional. I understand you have concerns about your termination, Mr. Carter. Andre took a deep breath. My concerns go beyond my individual case, Mr. Henderson. They involve a pattern of discriminatory practices at Pinnacle Shipping. Henderson's expression didn't change. That's a serious accusation. What evidence do you have? Michael stepped in smoothly. We have documented a clear pattern of differential treatment based on race, including explicit statements from management about moving employees of color away from client-facing roles, and surveillance footage that captures management explicitly discussing how to manufacture reasons for terminating black employees, Andre added. Something flickered across Henderson's face. Surprise, perhaps, or concern. Patricia Winters spoke. Any surveillance footage obtained without authorization would be inadmissible and potentially illegal. The footage was discovered in the course of regular system maintenance, Michael countered, and whistleblower protections apply when reporting discrimination. Henderson held up a hand. Let's take a step back. Mr. Carter, why bring this directly to me instead of following our grievance procedures? Andre met his gaze through the screen. Because those procedures go through the same people who are perpetuating the discrimination. And because this isn't just about me, it's about every employee who's been pushed out or held back because of their race. Henderson was silent for a moment. Then he asked, May I see some of this evidence? Andre shared his screen and played the most damning clips. Thomas and Philip discussing how to find reasons to fire him, the regional VP's comments about image, the explicit connections made between race and client comfort. When the videos ended, Henderson's expression had changed. The corporate mask had slipped, revealing what looked like genuine shock. I was not aware of this, he said finally. His voice had lost some of its polished quality. This is not how Pinnacle operates, not how I operate. Patricia started to say something, but Henderson cut her off. No, Patricia, this isn't a legal matter right now. This is about doing what's right. He turned back to the camera. Mr. Carter, Mr. Chen, I need to investigate this further, but you have my word that I take these allegations extremely seriously. Andre wasn't ready to trust, just yet. And my colleagues who are currently facing retaliation for supporting me? No further adverse actions will be taken against anyone, Henderson promised. I'll personally see to that. After the call ended, Andre sat back, emotionally drained. Kier, you think he meant it? He asked Michael. Hard to say, Michael replied. But his reaction to the footage seemed genuine, and he's smart enough to know this could become a PR nightmare. Andre nodded slowly. The fight wasn't over. But for the first time since his termination, he felt something he hadn't expected to feel again so soon. Hope. 3 days after the video call with Blake Henderson, things started happening fast. A team of investigators from corporate headquarters arrived at the branch office. They set up in the conference room, calling employees in one by one for interviews. Andre watched from a distance, getting updates from Lena and Carlos via text. The mood in the office had shifted dramatically. Thomas and Philip were notably absent, their offices dark. They've been placed on administrative leave, Lena texted. No explanation given, but everyone knows why. Andre showed the message to Michael during their daily check-in call. That's a good sign, Michael said cautiously. But we need to stay vigilant. Companies sometimes make a show of investigating while actually looking for ways to minimize damage. Andre understood the caution, but something told him Henderson's response had been genuine. The shock in his eyes when he saw the footage wasn't something that could be easily faked. Later that afternoon, Andre received an unexpected email from Henderson's assistant, requesting another video meeting, this time without lawyers present. "It's your call," Michael said when Andre called him. "Legally speaking, I'd advise against meeting without representation." "But," Andre prompted, sensing there was more. Michael sighed. "But sometimes person-to-person conversations can accomplish things that legal proceedings can't." Andre thought about it overnight, finally deciding to take the meeting. If Henderson had wanted to dismiss the situation, he would have handed everything over to the legal team and walked away. The next morning, Andre sat at his dining table again, dressed in a casual button-up shirt. When Henderson appeared on screen, he was similarly dressed down, no tie, sleeves rolled up, looking tired but focused. "Thank you for agreeing to speak with me, Mr. Carter," Henderson began. "Andre is fine," he replied. Henderson nodded. "Then please call me Blake. I wanted to talk to you directly, without the filters of legal or HR." "I appreciate that, Andre," said carefully. Henderson ran a hand through his hair, a surprisingly human gesture for a CEO. "I've spent the past few days reviewing all the evidence, speaking with employees, examining our policies. What I've found, it's deeply troubling." Andre waited, letting the silence encourage Henderson to continue. "The behavior captured in those recordings is antithetical to everything I thought this company stood for," Henderson continued. "But what's more disturbing is the pattern behind it. This wasn't an isolated incident." "No," Andre agreed. "It wasn't. The investigators have found evidence of systematic discrimination going back years," Henderson admitted. "Not just at your branch, but throughout the regional division." Andre felt a mix of vindication and sadness. So many careers affected, so many lives impacted. "I want to offer you your job back," Henderson said abruptly, "with a promotion and back pay. But I also understand if you're not interested in returning." The offer caught Andre off guard. He'd been so focused on exposing the truth that he hadn't thought much about what would come after. "I appreciate the offer," he said carefully, "but I'm not sure returning is the right move. Not unless real changes are being made." Henderson nodded as if he'd expected this response. "That's fair. And it's actually why I wanted to speak with you directly." He leaned closer to the camera. "I want to make significant changes, and I could use your help." "My help?" Andre echoed, surprised. "I'm creating a new position. Director of Diversity and Inclusion," Henderson explained. "Someone who reports directly to me with real authority to implement change across the company. Would you be interested?" Andre's mind raced. This wasn't at all what he had expected. "What kind of authority would this position have?" he asked. "Input on hiring and promotion decisions. Authority to review and revise policies, a seat at the executive table," Henderson listed, "and most importantly, my personal commitment to back your initiatives." Andre felt a flutter of excitement at the possibilities, quickly tempered by caution. "And the people responsible for what happened to me?" Henderson's expression hardened slightly. "Thomas and Philip will be terminated. The regional VP has been suspended pending further investigation, and there will likely be more consequences as we dig deeper." Andre nodded slowly. "I'd need time to consider it, and I'd want to see the changes in writing." "Of course," Henderson agreed. "Take whatever time you need. I'll have HR draft a formal offer with details of the position and authority." When the call ended, Andre sat for a long time, thinking. The offer was unexpected, tempting even. But was it the right path? Or was Henderson just trying to buy his silence and avoid a public scandal? He called Lena, who answered immediately. "The office is in chaos," she reported. "The investigators are everywhere. They've been reviewing every termination, every promotion decision for the past 5 years." "Is it for show, or does it seem genuine?" Andre asked. "It feels genuine," Lena said after a pause. "They're asking tough questions, following up on inconsistencies, and get this, Beverly from HR is also on leave now." Apparently, she helped backdate those performance notes they used against you. Andre told her about Henderson's job offer. Wow, she breathed. Director of Diversity and Inclusion? That's huge. If it comes with real authority, Andre cautioned. Corporate places create these roles all the time as window dressing. True, Lena acknowledged. But Henderson seems serious about making changes. Word is he's furious about what's been happening. Next, Andre called Roger, who had been job hunting since his termination. They called me this morning, Roger told him. Offered my job back with an apology and a raise. Are you going to take it? Andre asked. Roger hesitated. I'm considering it. They promised in writing that there would be no retaliation, and honestly, I'd like to see the changes from the inside. Finally, Andre called Carlos, who had similar news. He had been pulled into a meeting with the head investigator, who apologized for the suddenly negative performance reviews and assured him they would be removed from his file. By evening, Andre had a formal offer in his email from Henderson. The position details were as promised: direct reporting line to the CEO, authority over policy changes, input on hiring and promotions, and a substantial salary increase. He printed the document and spread it on his kitchen table, reading every word carefully as he ate dinner. The terms were generous. The authority seemed real. But something still held him back from accepting immediately. The next morning, Andre drove to his old office. He didn't go inside, just sat in the parking lot, watching employees arrive for work. Some faces he recognized, others were new. All going about their day, unaware of how close he was, unaware of the changes happening within their company because he had decided to speak up. His phone buzzed with a text from Michael. Whatever. You decide. You've already won. You exposed the truth. The rest is up to you. Andre smiled at that. It was true. Whether he took the new position or walked away, he had refused to be silently pushed aside. He had stood up not just for himself, but for everyone who had faced similar discrimination. As he started his car to drive home, Andre finally knew what his answer would be. He would take the position, not because it was the easy path or the most financially rewarding, but because it was where he could make the most difference. Real change didn't come from outside pressure alone. It needed advocates on the inside, people with both the authority and the determination to dismantle systems of discrimination, people who understood firsthand what was at stake. When he got home, Andre called Henderson directly. I'll accept the position, he said when the CEO answered, but I have some conditions. I'm listening, Henderson replied. I want to bring Lena onto my team. Her data analysis skills will be crucial for tracking our progress. Done, Henderson agreed without hesitation. And I want a budget for training and education programs, not just one-time seminars but ongoing initiatives. You'll have it, Henderson promised. And one more thing, Andre added. I want to be involved in the investigation. I need to understand how deep the problems go before I can help fix them. There was a brief pause before Henderson responded. That's unusual. But given the circumstances, I understand why it's important to you. We can make that happen. After ending the call, Andre walked to his window and looked out at his neighborhood. Children played in the street. Parents chatted on porches, normal life continuing all around him. He thought about his own children, how he would tell them about this chapter of his life someday, how he would explain that sometimes fighting for what's right means taking risks, and sometimes it means accepting an opportunity to change things from within. The plant his daughter had given him sat on the windowsill, green and thriving despite everything. Andre touched one of its leaves gently. We keep growing, he said quietly to the empty room. No matter what they throw at us, we keep growing. 6 months passed in a whirlwind of change. Andre's first day as Director of Diversity and Inclusion had been both awkward and empowering. Walking back into the building where he had been unfairly dismissed, now with the authority to ensure no one else would suffer the same fate. Office looked different somehow. New faces, new energy. Thomas and Philip were long gone, along with Beverly from HR and several regional managers. The changes had rippled through the company, creating space for transformation. "We've got the quarterly numbers," Lena said, entering Andre's new corner office with a tablet in hand. As his deputy director, she had proven invaluable, tracking data and identifying patterns that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. "Let's see them," Andre said, clearing space on his desk. Lena pulled up the charts she had created. Hiring is more diverse across all departments. Retention of employees of color is up 28%, and the pay gap is shrinking. Not gone, but moving in the right direction. Andre nodded, studying the figures. "Good progress. What about promotions?" "That's where we still see challenges," Lena admitted, switching to another chart. "The numbers are better, but middle management is resistant to change." "Not surprising," Andre sighed. "That's where the old guard is entrenched." His phone buzzed with a reminder. Staff meeting in 15 minutes. These monthly gatherings had become a cornerstone of the new culture he was working to build, a space where employees could speak openly about challenges and improvements. As Andre and Lena walked to the conference room, employees greeted them with smiles and brief conversations. The hostility and suspicion that had marked his first few weeks in the position had gradually faded as people saw that real change was happening. Roger waved from his desk as they passed. He had not only returned to his IT position but had been promoted to department head. "Still on for lunch?" he called. Andre gave him a thumbs up. Their weekly lunch had become a tradition, a chance to talk honestly about the progress and setbacks in transforming the company culture. The conference room was already filling up when they arrived. Carlos, now a team leader in customer service, had saved them seats. The room held a mix of familiar faces and new hires, more diverse than the company had ever been. "Before we start," Andre said once everyone was settled, "I want to share some news. Our changes here at the local branch have caught attention at the national level. Starting next month, we'll be piloting diversity initiatives that will eventually roll out company-wide." A murmur of approval ran through the room. What had begun as a response to discrimination in one branch was spreading throughout the organization. "That's not all," Andre continued. "The company has agreed to a substantial settlement with former employees who experienced discrimination. The funds will be distributed next week, along with formal apologies." This announcement generated even more discussion. The settlement had been one of Andre's first demands, acknowledgement and compensation for those who had been pushed out before he had the chance to expose what was happening. The meeting continued with updates from different departments, discussions of ongoing challenges and suggestions for improvement. Unlike the stilted hierarchical meetings of the past, these sessions were collaborative and honest. People spoke up without fear, knowing their input was valued. After the meeting, Andre stopped by the break room for coffee. He found himself standing next to Diane, a white manager who had initially been one of the most resistant to the changes. "I owe you an apology," she said unexpectedly, stirring her tea. Andre raised an eyebrow, waiting. "When you first came back as director, I thought it was just political correctness gone too far," she admitted. "I didn't see the problems you were talking about because they didn't affect me." Andre nodded, appreciating her honesty. "But watching how things have improved, seeing how much talent we were missing out on before," she continued, "you've made a real difference here. Not just for some employees, but for all of us." "That's the goal," Andre said simply. "A workplace where everyone can succeed based on their abilities, not held back by biases." At lunch with Roger, they sat at their usual table at the cafe across the street. Carlos joined them a few minutes later, apologizing for his lateness. "Customer call ran long," he explained. "But in a good way. The Westridge account actually requested me specifically for their quarterly review." Andre smiled at the irony. Westridge, the same client the former VP had claimed would only be comfortable with white representatives. "How's the new team working out?" he asked Roger, who had recently hired 2 new IT specialists. "Amazing," Roger replied enthusiastically. "Lee's background in cybersecurity has already helped us identify vulnerabilities in our system And Tyrone's user interface expertise is exactly what we needed for the new customer portal. As they ate, Andre felt a deep satisfaction. This was what real change looked like. Not just diversity for its own sake, but recognizing and utilizing the full range of talents that had previously been overlooked or pushed aside. His phone chimed with an email from Henderson. The CEO had become a surprisingly strong ally, backing Andre's initiatives even when they faced resistance from other executives. Good news, Andre told his friends, scanning the message. The board approved our expanded budget for next year. We can move forward with the mentorship program and the college recruitment initiative. Never thought I'd see the day, Carlos marveled. Remember when we were meeting in secret, afraid for our jobs? The memory seemed distant now, though it had been less than a year ago. So much had changed in such a relatively short time. After lunch, Andre had his monthly one-on-one with Henderson, now conducted in person since the CEO had begun spending more time at the local office. The numbers speak for themselves, Henderson said, reviewing the reports Andre had prepared. Productivity up, turnover down, client satisfaction improved. And the human impact goes beyond the metrics, Andre added. People feel valued, which makes them more invested in their work. Henderson nodded thoughtfully. I've been thinking about what you said when you took this position, that discrimination isn't just a moral failure, it's a business failure. You were right. It took courage to admit there was a problem, Andre acknowledged. Many leaders wouldn't have done that. It took more courage to expose the problem in the first place, Henderson countered. If you hadn't stood up, we'd still be losing talent and limiting our potential without even realizing it. They discussed upcoming initiatives, challenges with resistant managers, and strategies for the next phase of company-wide implementation. As the meeting concluded, Henderson had one more piece of news. The board wants to create a new executive position, Chief Diversity Officer for the entire corporation. They'd like you to consider it. Andre was momentarily speechless. The scope would be enormous. Thousands of employees across dozens of offices nationwide. It would mean relocating to headquarters, Henderson added. But your impact would be multiplied many times over. I'll need to think about it, Andre said finally. I'm not finished with what we started here. Of course, Henderson nodded. The position won't be officially created until next quarter. Take your time. Walking back to his office, Andre mulled over the offer. The recognition was gratifying, the opportunity unprecedented, but something held him back from immediate acceptance. He stopped by Lena's desk. Got a minute? I need your perspective on something. They walked to the small courtyard outside the building, sitting on a bench in the afternoon sunshine. Henderson just offered me a promotion, Andre explained. Chief, Diversity Officer for the entire corporation. Lena's eyes widened. Andre, that's incredible. Congratulations. I haven't accepted yet, he clarified. It would mean moving to headquarters, starting over in many ways. Understanding dawned on Lena's face. You're worried about leaving the work unfinished here. Andre nodded. We've made progress, but it's still fragile. If the wrong person takes over, it could slide back, Lena finished for him. I understand the concern, but consider this. Maybe the next step in creating lasting change is expanding your influence. They discussed the pros and cons, the potential impact, the personal sacrifices involved. As they talked, Andre realized that his hesitation wasn't just about the work left undone. It was also about the community he had built, the relationships forged through shared purpose. Whatever you decide, you've already changed things for the better, Lena assured him. Not just policies and numbers, but how people think. Later that evening, Andre sat on his front porch, watching the sunset. His daughter's plant, now thriving in a larger pot, sat on the railing beside him. He thought about the journey of the past year, from being unfairly terminated to creating systemic change, about the courage it had taken to stand up, and the unexpected opportunities that had emerged from that difficult moment. Most of all, he thought about the people whose lives had been touched, The former employees receiving settlements, the new hires finding opportunities that would have been closed to them before, the future employees who would never know how different things once were. His phone lit up with a text from his daughter. "Proud of you, Dad. Always." Andre smiled. Whatever he decided about the new position, he knew one thing for certain: the work would continue. Whether at the local branch or at corporate headquarters, the path forward was clear. Real change wasn't a single victory or a one-time fix. It was an ongoing commitment, a daily choice to create workplaces where everyone could thrive based on their talents and efforts, not held back by bias or discrimination. As darkness fell, Andre made his decision. He would accept the new position, not because it was a personal advancement, but because it was a chance to multiply the impact, to spread the changes they had made here throughout the entire company. The plant beside him had outgrown its original pot, reaching for greater heights stronger than before. Sometimes growth meant leaving familiar ground behind. But the roots, the fundamental values and commitments, those remained the same. Tomorrow, he would tell Henderson yes, and then the real work would begin again, on a larger scale but with the same purpose, creating a world where people were truly valued for who they were and what they could contribute, not judged by the color of their skin. The darkness had fully settled now, but Andre felt nothing but light ahead. The journey continued, and he was ready for the next chapter.